talk because I love web app for a few years now, as my ears can show. And I love Scala for 2 years, 12 years, sorry. Scala.js from early beginning, and FX System for 5 years. I'm not perfect guy because people are more smart than me in this room, but I'm quite happy with that. But yet, in another dimension, there is another constellation of tools: Angular, React, Vue, Ember, tooling, and really, I work for more than 20 years. I'm totally lost with the front-end topic. And that's quite frustrating because when you are doing your pet project, you want to show something, and it's not frustrating. And then I follow the courses, the wonderful course of RocksJVM about this topic, the Zayo rite of passage, that covering Scala backend, of course, Scala.js, Zayo, Tapir. Who is using Tapir there? Okay, oh, nice. And Laminar. Laminar is a UI toolkit for the front-end side. Postgres, of course, a nice database, the only database. ChatGPT and Stripe. So really, if you have some time to follow this course, it's just wonderful. So, go back to school. After 4 weeks, I 3 or 4 weeks, more than 50 hours of video. I perform. So, outcome, Scala, okay, really rocks the JVM, definitely. But to set up this project, it's quite long because you have Scala setup, Scala.js setup, NPM setup, Vite setup to work in a comfortable situation. It's quite long. I forgot to start the timer, sorry. Hop, I put my timer. Not to be I'm handicapé. As you can see, I'm not using timer. The time is not on my side. Anytime. Up, stopwatch. Sorry. So the setup is, you will see, is quite big because there are many tools to set up. So it's very error prone. I don't remember the time for the first setup. It's about 20 or 1 hour of tweaking configuration files. And also starting the development environment is quite long because you have some Docker stuff, some backend stuff, some front-end stuff, Vite to set up. So the agenda will be how to set up this in quite a fast manner. Classical application, a front and a back, and Postgres. And sorry, setup. Yep. I said, yep. So classical application, a front and a back, and how to deploy this as a standalone jar, Docker, or even if you have time within Kubernetes. Kubernetes using Argo CD and nice stuff like this. The setup. What is the setup? It's build tools. Build tools, we have NPM. I think everybody who is doing a little bit of web knows. As node for package manager. The Vite is a tool that allows you to auto-reload your application without doing anything. SVT. And just for this, I have two processes. Okay, we have SVT to build the Scala.js, Vite to synchronize the browser, and the browser to test. Besides this, we still have the backend. Backend, we have also an SVT to build the backend and Docker file. So even for Kubernetes, but I don't think I will have time. There is a tight communication between Scala.js and Vite, of course, because Scala.js will incrementally build your application, and Vite will update your browser as fast as possible. So it's a very bunch file of configuration to set up. So first time is very funny. You do this. Why you struggle, but it's okay. Second time it's not that very funny. So after following the courses of RocksJVM, I have an idea of a new pet project with Scala.js. And I say, oh no, I have all these setups to do. Let's do a template to do this. everybody knows G8, the templating of Scala, that is embedded in Scala. This is the way. Here I have nothing in this folder. Okay, I just use this scaffolding tool. If the network is there, so it will go through GitHub to check up the templating, runs the templating, and we are done. At this point, I have set up a project to be able to fully develop this application. But we still have to start Docker. Let me check that Docker is running. It's running, and this container, it will conflict every time I have this error. Okay. So we have to start Docker to Docker image for Postgres, start the backend SBT, the Scala.js SBT, and the Vite process to use this. And what I just have to do now is just this. I just have to enter in this folder, and it should run VS Code. I don't know if you know what we can do with VS Code, but there is a very funny feature. With this small file task in VS Code. Who knows this file? Oh, nice. This file can allow you to automate something when the folder is open. Okay, on open folder, I will run in sequence few tasks. First task to set up, to catch all the dependencies, and to run the demo. So if I go to the VS Code, now he say, oh, you should first import your Scala to determine. I just need to know the version of Scala you have. So it runs blub install. In general, it works. So we just wait to the metadata to be built. And as you will see, you will show me. It's quite long. Sorry. Chunk. Up. Okay, good job. So now it runs the setup. The setup is essentially making an npm install and building the whole application the first time. So you run an npm install, everything like this. In the meantime, I continue to explain you. So it will run the setup, checking npm install and SBT, and run the setup, and after it closes and run the demo for application. And as you can see, it will run in parallel these 4 tasks. Starting Docker, the SBT for Scala for the backend, SBT for Scala.js, and npm Vite. And if I go back there, you can see my 4 processes. And if I click, sorry, I just wait that everything is compiling, because first time it's checking all the dependencies and everything as always. And now I just have to open my browser, and that's it. I have my web application that it's just a sample that allows to register you and have access to secured pages. The design is by me. I thought it was nice, but everybody is joking, so it's maybe not so nice. So, as you can see, I have a setup page, okay, to register the user. I will show you quickly how it works. The basic are very simple. I have some debug information, everything. I can create my user. The user is now in the database, and I can log into this UI. Up. Not secured. And now, because I'm logged, I have access to my settings. Okay, and if I unlog, everything is active. If I reload, it go back. Okay, so everything is fully reactive, and you will see there is more or less zero code to do this as an end user. How it works? Okay. So this is the task, the setup. One line to scaffold the project, one line to start the development environment. Quite cool. This is all the SBT plugin I'm using. I will detail some of them. For Scala.js applications, this is more important, that allow you to mix in the same SBT project Scala.js and backend stuff. This is pure Scala.js. This is for the bundling your application, because you will be able to bundle the application as WebJar. I don't know if you know what are WebJar, but it's more or less an archive in the Java world to expose web resources. Scala.btype, it's a plugin to allow you to convert TypeScript definition to Scala. So it means that with this very nice tool, I can use almost every ecosystem existing in TypeScript in Scala. And in the runtime, it will be still Java JS that will be run. Twirl is a static file tool, quite useful sometimes. And Spray Revolver, it's a plugin that allows you to reload, not auto-reload, but reload your web server without any operation. So what is the structure of this project? A server and a client. There is a nice strange beast, which is cross-project. That is not really an SBT project. It's something that can be derived in server part and client part. Meaning everything you put in the cross-project will exist on both sides of the wire. There are some settings. Not very complicated, but it's pure SBT. Okay, you choose a JS platform, JVM platform, also native platform if you want all the target. And as you can see, with doing just this, you say, oh, this is the JVM part, this is the JS part. In the SBT file, you have to in the server process, you depend only on the JVM part, and on the client part, you depend only on the JS part, quite obvious. Setup is done for the backend. For the front end, I don't know, I will quickly run this because it's quite long. There is some pure development dependencies. Here it's Vite. Vite is the tool that is all reload your application. And dependency, runtime dependencies. I use either a web UI component and Chart.js as a sample of library that I will use from TypeScript definition. This is the tooling for the Vite setup. I talked yesterday with somebody who tried to play with Scala.js. This setup is not that funny to do because there's many small errors you can do. As always, there is a plugin for Scala.js for Vite. You just say where is your build SBT, what is the ID of the project in your SBT, and that's it. So the front end, the application will be a front end part and back end part. The front end I will use Laminar quickly, Zayo as a effect system, and Tapir as a API definition and client server everything. On the backend, Tapir again, Zayo and Quill. Quill is one database layer. I won't go too much in detail. The share module will have Zayo for the payload manipulation because we have many payloads to transfer between the server and client, and Tapir also to allow to share the definition between the server and the client. So that's very cool. And this usage, it's simple, but I didn't thought it was so easy to implement. And that was the point in the Rock the JVM tuto. That was very amazing. As you can see, Zayo is everywhere, in my heart also. And Tapir is also everywhere. Okay, so we have a API definition, API usage everywhere, and Tapir everywhere. What can we share? What can we share between server and client? Me, before following this course, I was only sharing payloads. Okay, just not to avoid to have a discrepancy between server and client side. But we also can share the business logic, validation of some stuff, error handling, and most importantly, the API definition. And this is I think the very most interesting stuff of the Rock JVM courses. What can we do with this? So Tapir quickly Tapir is something that stands between HTTP transport and your FX system. CAT, ZIO, whatever, future, or even async, not async, direct style. And I will only focus on ZIO. Who knows ZIO? Is there? Okay. Who knows CAT's effects? Well, so I won't go too far in ZIO and declaring my love to ZIO then. But you know, ZIO very quickly said it's just a promise of some computation that can need some resources, some dependencies on the environment to compute. That may fail with an error, no more HRT for the CAT's lover. And then can produce, of course, a result. So this is sometimes this is a very you can show ZIO like this from R to either an error or a result. That's quite fat. That's why there is some aliases that can shorten the syntax. Mainly task. Okay, task is just like an IO for CAT's user. So Tapir. Tapir, about half of the people that already use Tapir, I think. Tapir is something to handle HTTP API from server and client. And the first point is to define your API, of course. So there is a very, very rich DSL to define your API. Like this, I will show you how the endpoint to create a user in the application is done. As you can see, it's just an endpoint that consumes a person, may fail with a throwable, and output a user. Okay, user is a registered user. You give a name to this endpoint because it's the ID, a verb, HTTP verb, a path in your URL, what it consumes, what it produces. Okay, it is done, so of course I need encoders, everything as implicit as always. You can see that the throwable is not in there because in general the error handling is common to all your application, so you gather this in an abstract definition. Where there in this kind also prepend every endpoint with API but in details. So from this will allow me to develop to implement the server side of the API, but also the client side, and globally just a post to put something like this: password, user, name, everything. From the server side, then let's imagine I have a service to register my user, like this. I want to implement this controller. This controller will be a class or case class, I don't care, and that will be injected with services as in a classical application. And Tapir provides this extension point as a Scala 3 syntax that I just call on this endpoint, and this is the place where I put my logic. As you can see, the mapping is straightforward. It's just forwarding the payload I received to the service layer. Because this is Scala 3, we can shorten the syntax. Maybe too much sometimes, I don't know. But it's very compact. And I give a name to this value, and I have implementing my endpoint, my server endpoint. This is as simple as that. What I didn't show you, for people that don't know Tapir, is that this produces for free your Swagger exposition of the service. Swagger or Redoc, if you prefer Redoc. I prefer Swagger. I think this is more easy to use, personally. So you can pay with your API. Everything, the schema is very finely defined. Oh, sorry. The schema is, thank you. The schema is really finely defined by either annotation for documentation or types. Hop. Focus, c'est pas ça. So as you can see, it's very easy to implement the server side of the call. If I generalize this to all the endpoint for this service, it's always the same logic. You have your endpoint, you apply the logic, and you put the content more or less complicated. As you can see, there is two public methods there, and one that is not public, because you can see it because it will receive the user ID when connected, queried with the rest of the request. And this is also handled quite all automatically to decode the bearer token and everything. We gather all our endpoint in a route to ease the process, and that's it. Now I need to build this controller at some time, so I need to inject the person service and JWT service. With the I/O, there is this parameter layer that is the constraint on the environment the I/O is running, meaning that this I/O to be executed must have access to person service and JWT service. So when I do this little syntax, I just declare an I/O that will produce my controller, given the fact that I can have access to person service and JWT service. But in the same way, the person service also depends on many other dependencies. Okay, repository, everything, JWT service also. So at the end, you have a bunch of files you have to assemble together. When you do this with CATS effects, you do this by hand, as far as I know. As far as I know, because I'm doing CATS on my daily job, so I know what I'm talking about. So it's funny, but it has some limits. Using the I/O, there is another data type that is called layer, that is just an abstraction around the constructor, in fact. Okay, it's something that will help you to produce some object. And this time, it's the same logic. There is some dependencies. There is some. This layer, for example, will produce a person service. Given the fact there is other layers that can produce all this different stuff. And nice stuff, or nice element of Zayo. Zayo love making small macro to ease the developer. Okay. For example, this macro is just using the constructor parameter of this case class to derive the layer. You don't ever have to write the layer. Sometimes you have to write them by hand. Sometimes you can rely on this. So at the end of my server, I have a bunch of services, bunch of controllers that must be wired together. So this is, for example, the end I/O that need all of this, and all you have to do is just to put all the layer in a row, flat way, and there is this macro magic, Zayo magic at the first time, that will figure out how to wire everything. From top down, beside it's just some people are mad on the world. And to give you an idea, for this simple project, also at compile time, the I/O produces this. Okay, it produces the link to go to Mermaid to understand how your services are wired together. At compile time, I don't think I will have time. It's in warning, in compilation warning, you have a tree with a nice ASCII art, or this link to Mermaid. Quite funny. Hop là, pardon. Hop là. Okay, so now I have some endpoint on my controllers. Now I have a browser, and I need to call this endpoint to use the API. So we need to provide a HTTP client for the same endpoint, and this is even more fun for me, at least. And saying Tapir also have a server side, client side. We will stay in Scala world. fully type safe, of course, and you see everything will be reactive. The call to the API and also the processing to the in the UI side. And with, I think, really a minimal of boilerplate, because I really don't like boilerplate code. So same part. I have this person, the formula is filling, and I want to call my API. As you remember, the API was like this. It was consuming a person to provide to produce a user. So what I just want is just I want to use this as a function. In fact, but that's the case. In fact, I will, after few extensions, be able to do this. I have a my endpoint. I give you this case class and go make your life. The magic is that something that will produce an IO, okay, an IO, the IO that will depend on the HTTP client, of course, because to send the request, I need a client, and that will produce a user. And there is another extension, emit2, that will run this IO and pipe its result in bus to handle the result or the error. So I spoiled the question, but there is two extensions in action there, in fact. This one and another one. Who guess where it is? Where is the first extension that is Scala 3 extension? Okay. Sorry for people doing Scala 2 or implicit class. In fact, there, and I find this very elegant. It's not for me, it's from Daniel from RocksJVM again. Because remember that create is just a Tapir endpoint. It has nothing no relation with ZIO, with cats or nothing. It's nothing. So what's happened is that I've extracted this logic from the RocksJVM in a library. Okay, so we just have to have this import, and that's it. Everything will work like this. So it's magic, not. So I will short explain how it works. It's not that complicated, in fact. It's very illustrate how Scala 3 is very elegant in many topics. Like Tapir had the server logic extension to provide the server logic to the endpoint. We build an extension that is targeting an endpoint, okay? An endpoint that throwable exceptions. This just provides the apply method. Okay, if you know Scala, you know that as soon as an object has an apply method, it's a function. Okay, so now my endpoint can receive the input. The input of the endpoint can be given to this to produce an IO from the IO. There is no magic. This is how we retrieve an element from the environment of the IO, and we just fed map to the client, to the server, no, to the client, the endpoint definition and the payload. To go to the full detail, this endpoint definition is then received by this function and will produce this ZIO that can be reduced to a task, as I explained last time, and just forward to the backend, to the HTTP backend, the request. And we are done, in fact. This is how, in the end, the HTTP backend is implemented with is interpreting the endpoint to produce the client, HTTP client. Okay, it's wiring, but not that complicated. So at this point, I have my endpoint definition. When I give him the input is waiting for, I have an IO that is ready to be run. So I need another extension. This time, extension Scala 3 still that is targeting this time this IO that depend on the client, And what it's doing is simple, in fact. It just say, okay, run the IO, tap the error, tap, okay, it's oh, already. Tap is to use the result, but don't touch it. Okay, it's still there. So I tap the error to push in the bus error bus, and I tap the result to push in the result bus. In the end, I have to run the I/O with this, and providing the client, the HTTP client that we. In development side, we'll be using the Vite URL, and on the deployment side, we'll be using the production URL. So under the hood, I have more stuff like this to be able to use a different origin client because to handle the cores. And also to support the bearer token, meaning that on the client side, when I use, if we have time, calling a secured endpoint is nothing more than calling a normal endpoint. Okay, all the mechanic is automatic. If we look in the local storage, is there is a JWT token? If yes, you take it, you forward it to the client. You as a user, you don't know that this service is secured. This is how it's implemented. The only difference is that this endpoint now has a string there. This first element for Tapir is a secure input. Okay, meaning I have a token. I have this token to handle. And my library takes the token and converts this to your user token of your application. This is extended as a library. So as you say, it's just endpoint enhancement, marshalling of JSON. Of course, I don't use everything is done automatically. Error handling and fully reactive and type safe. And I think one line one import and one line to use. I think the boilerplate is avoided as much as possible. Bon, Tapir. Okay, I'm just repeating myself. Laminar, very quickly then. So who knows Laminar there? Nobody. Oh, really try Laminar. Laminar, it's a toolkit that provides basically some reactive component. A var is something that you can read and set and get automatically and being notified when things changes. Signals is just a reading only. Variable, event stream for events, and event bus to write to event stream. Doing this, there's two functions. One function to read and one function to write, the opposite. Well, you can see quickly the demo, but basically it is as simple as that. Non, ça c'est moi. Bon, on peut y arriver. Ah, sorry. This is the running code. You can see it's reactively update the DOM, and it's very efficient. Okay, it's very minimalist. The guy who's implementing this, I don't know, he's a creator of the DOM model. He knows everything. Every event of every domain it's a mutant. Really. Really. So I show you quickly how I could set up on the application. And this is the whole sign up page. Okay. This is all the content. I think you should say, oh, but where is the formula? Where is everything? In fact, the read code, okay, with some other CSS stuff I put. Okay, it's probably not optimal at all. But this is where, as you can see, I have a var holding my person, my domain model, my domain object. A bus to receive the result of the API call, the error and the good result with the pop-up. I don't show the code of the pop-up. It's okay. And this is in one line to use my case class and derive a formula, okay, from with a Magnolia, and one line to call the service. I think it's not too complicated. The formula derivation, quick demo also. As you can see, there is the design is also by me. And there is simple cases where I have a case class like this, okay? And to render, just render the formula, okay? And you have the double binding there. And everything is supported from opaque types, okay, where the data is obfuscated, from either type, if you want prefer cats or dogs. So as you can see, my case class there as a either, and the either is rendered as a two side panel. But also validation with a famous library from Raphael. If you don't know Iron, check Iron. It's just amazing. It's a library, as you can see, that can allow you to define, I don't know, opaque types, something like this.
Type constraints.
Type constraint. Thank you. Type constraint at the type level. For example, this value must be greater than 8. Okay. And the formula derivation under this quite smoothly. Okay, I didn't. I use code to handle this, of course, but at the end user usage, nothing to do. Okay, your formula is read because your data is not valid. Also handling the options, right? Because it's option, I can remove the option. Stuff like this. Seed classes also. Okay, you can choose everything, list everything. So you define your model and go in the UI. So quickly, because I only 2 minutes, I guess. Up. So voilà, it's a small library, also inspired from Kit Landon, which is a great speaker in the Scala ecosystem. And you can see very easy to use and funny. This for prototyping is very cool. Scala B-type, I tell you, it's from TS. It builds the wrapper, the Scala wrapper classes, and put this in your IV directory. So it is done only once because it's very long to process. And then you can use from the jar to Scala JS and to JS, and it works very nicely. If you know Char.js, for example, Char.js, because I'm connected, no, there. I can access to Char.js, okay? It's just a JS library, but I'm just using this in a Scala way, so thank you. I'm just using the JS library in Scala way, so every type and compatible with Laminar in fully reactive way, so you can do really amazing things. I don't have time, but if you want to go to production, it's also one-liner. This is to build only one monolithic server with the backend and frontend. You can build push with Docker or also push in Kubernetes. Okay, I made all the Helm files, all the for Argo CD. I don't know if you know Argo CD, and the end using this parameters because you need some GitHub stuff to push your GitHub files. When you want to go to production, you just have to tag your repository, push the tag. The CI build the images, go in the Docker registry. Argo CD listen to the Docker registry, check the images, update the M file, commit the M files to the GitHub's policy, and Argo CD update the application. So no more boring stuff to do. So out of the box, scaffolding, form derivation, Scala B-type integration, HTTP client very easy to use, Docker deployment, Kubernetes deployment with Argo CD, this is really nice stuff to play with. I encourage you. What I didn't cover in the template is all the testing possibility we have with IO and things like this. Observability topic. GraphQL, because API REST is a good thing, but GraphQL is also a very nice tool, and there is Caliban, which is a very nice implementation of GraphQL for Scala. WebSocket, web security, WASM. I want to play with WASM, absolutely. I don't have time yet, but I want to. And microservices also, with some other things than REST, like gRPC. A very nice implementation of Zayo gRPC that is also compatible with Scala.js. So it can be very cool. Resiliency topic. It's a thought topic. I want to play with Istio also and integrate Istio secret breaking, things like this. And that's it, and GitHub Action. Some resources. I encourage you to really to follow the courses of Daniel. It's really amazing and cool. That's it for me. Thank you. Oh, si vous avez des questions, bien sûr, avec plaisir.
Hi, thank you very much for the presentation. I have 3 questions. The first one is, you said that Laminar is a type-safe API that can define combinator to make reactive UI. Does it produce type-safe HTML answering that every node is validated by the
no idea. Okay, no idea. What I know is it does not know SSR, server-side rendering.
Okay.
It's only browser.
And the second question is about form generation. It looks very interesting, but sometimes when we try to deal with form generation, we have some very specific corner case, and we know that the validation may take more information than just the regular data type. And is there a way to book, for example, just one field of the form? So going for a free selective applicative?
Yeah, that's the question I have to handle with Raphael.
Okay.
Because very good question, because in this time I have to have a valid class to be able to render it. So it's not ideal.
Nice. And the last question is maybe a little bit conceptual, but I think that REST API are pretty good when you want to expose a public API and to deal with different technology for client-side and backend-side programming. But since we have one technology that can deal with, for example, like you did automatic serialization between client and server, why relying on REST when we can, for example, go for something what we call tierless programming that will handle the RPC process between some fragment of the page and using shared continuation and shared state to have a more precise way that we deal with the application, stopping to separate everything for random reason.
Clearly, there are plenty of ways to do this. Also, it depends on who we are working with on the other side, as always.
Yeah, but let's imagine that we are dealing with the full stack Scala. Is there a possibility, for example, to define a component on the client side and to use it on the server side and vice versa, and to deal with what we call speeded continuation, going to get a compilation scheme that allows to have multi-server program.
Very good question, but I don't understand what you are talking about, to be honest. But let's talk after, clearly. But Scala.js is fully compatible with Scala.
Yes,
so you can do everything you want.
So how to manage stuff from the backend and the frontend, and to have a proper compilation scheme where everything is accessible by availability. So stuff that are just for the client are just for the client, but you can have shared information that have a different representation that can be interpreted from the backend and the frontend.
That's the case. You can mix many things many things are shared between client and server.
Maybe we'll talk about that just after.
Yeah, probably. Yeah. That's the point. The API is shared. All the contract API and payload are shared between the both.
But I'm not talking about the API.
Take after. Thank you. Pardon.
Have you tried or will you try to make this kind of project with Tyrian instead of Lambda? Are you experimenting with it?
No, I didn't try Tyrian. To be honest, Tyrian is using cat in the background.
You can use Zetaio
As enough cats at work. So I do this on my spare time, okay, clearly. And of course, everything is open source, of course.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you very
I
much.
said Tyrian. Thank you.